This week in Jamaica Now.
Lord Jesus, what this man?
Flooded again. Sand, silt, sadness overwhelm Wees Road residents. Jamaica bracing for another wet weekend and a threat from the effects of a new weather system. Sergeant under probe after refusing to help a victim of domestic violence because she turned up at a police station during curfew hours. Patient dies after jumping from the third floor of a hospital building. 4 killed in fire crash on a St. Anne highway. And Prime Minister defends move to overturn decision against mining in the Dry Harbor Mountains.
There are those who would want to shape the government in a narrative that it does not seek to protect the environmental assets of the people. I rubbish that narrative.
I'm Damian Mitchell, and this is Jamaica Now. Political representatives rushed to the St. Andrew East rural community of Wees Road 9 miles this week as residents reeled from a weekend disaster. The Chalky Hill River broke its banks and overflowed into the community, leaving a trail of silt, sand, and sadness.
They get incompetent workers to come and work in the gully because two would start have a devastation with the rain, and they came and break the embankment. And that's what caused this devastation. The river would burst if normally it would burst on its own, but not this wide.
Member of Parliament for St. Andrew East Rural, Juliet Holness, said after consultation with experts, a decision will have to be made whether or not residents ought to be relocated. Meanwhile, Mark Golding, who on Tuesday was sworn in as the new opposition leader, said relocation is not necessary. According to Mr. Golding, there simply needs to be cleaning and maintenance of the gully in the community. In the meantime, residents are chalking up their losses with little alternative for the immediate future.
This is the roof. We can jump up on the roof. Look at this. This is 9 miles building. Look at this house. Look at this. Jesus have mercy. Look at that. I don't know if you could try and see straight through the dirt. The dirt runs straight through the house. Lord, without you, we are nothing.
And in the community of New Haven in St. Andrew Southwest, several homes remain flooded almost a week after blocked drains sent flood waters into their houses.
That's my room, right? And I have to walk on the blocks.
Go ahead.
To go in my room. Place is in a bad way.
Days later, representatives of Food for the Poor brought relief items to the residents. However, it was chaotic as the volunteers sought to maintain order for the distribution of the supplies.
10 people going, 10 people come out back. Simple.
From morning to day on.
If I don't get be careful fly from, and 10 people walk from down there and get through. Simple.
Listen.
The process join the people are stop.
We are trying to make it continue.
We are trying to make it continue, but we need your cooperation.
Meanwhile, Jamaica is bracing for another wet weekend. It's linked to Tropical Depression number 31, now Tropical Storm Iota, which formed on Friday. The system has been moving westward over Jamaica's southern waters and will continue to do so over the next few days. The Meteorological Service Jamaica says the country is not directly threatened by the system. However, outer bands of the weather system are expected to impact Jamaica. The Met Service has issued a severe weather alert for Jamaica until 5 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. A sergeant at the Constant Spring Police Station in St. Andrew North is now under investigation after refusing to help an abused woman because she turned up during curfew hours. The police high command has apologized to the woman, saying this should never have happened. In the meantime, Christine Donaldson says she has already provided a statement to investigators. However, she says she remains very disappointed with the fact that she was turned away in the middle of the night when she called on the police for help.
It was fear running through me as the police can't assist me during curfew. So who was there to assist me? I just really hope that this does not happen to anyone else, as I would not want anyone to be in that state at all.
There was raw grief in the St. Anne community of Gibraltar this week after 4 members of one family were killed in a fire crash along the Discovery Bay Main Road in the parish. They were traveling in a Toyota Fielder motorcar. The victims have been identified as sisters Kadeen Howard, 34, and Rihanna Howard, 14, along with Kadeen's daughter, Jada Ann McLean, 13, and Jason Gale, the common-law husband of Kadeen Howard. He was the driver of the ill-fated vehicle that slammed into a Mercedes-Benz. Kadeen was reportedly pregnant.
It was instant combustion.
Hours after the incident, security guard Kimani Steele was still in shock. He had been a passenger in the death car around 15 minutes before the fiery collision. Steele looked on in disbelief as he saw the bodies arriving at the St. Anne's Bay Hospital. What makes the event even more chilling is the fact that he remembers discussing the probability of accidents during the journey on the wet road. The sister of a patient who died days after reportedly leaping from the 3rd floor of the Princess Margaret Hospital in St. Thomas is demanding an explanation from health authorities. Sharika Thomas also wants to know why the request to restrain her brother was denied. It's also emerged that up to 5 days later, hospital officials had not reported the incident to the Morant Bay Police. 41-year-old Welton Thomas was taken to the Princess Margaret Hospital on Thursday, November 5 by his sister, who reported that he was acting strangely and complained of weakness and stomach ache. He was treated and sent home with paracetamol and vitamins, but Thomas had to be taken to the hospital again. Terrified that he could harm himself, Sharika said she requested to sign a document authorizing healthcare staff to have Welton restrained. She said that request was rejected by a nurse who said a doctor would have to issue those instructions. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has defended the government's handling over the granting of a license for limestone mining and quarrying in the Dry Harbour Mountains in St. Anne. According to the Prime Minister, it was not for the money that the government overruled the local environment watchdog in granting a license to Bengal Development Limited for mining in the ecologically sensitive area. Bengal has projected $635 million in taxes for the government and up to 100 jobs from the quarrying and mining that will be done on 123 acres of a 569-acre property. The National Environment and Planning Agency had denied an application for mining in the area. However, the developers appealed to the Prime Minister and the decision was overturned. Holness said there is need for more careful and comprehensive consideration of the environmental benefits and the economic and developmental benefits. He's also said he will be first to shut down the project if there are breaches of any of the guidelines set out for mining.
Because any decision about development that has to be made for this country, it has to be with the environment first and foremost in mind. There are those who would want to shape the government in a narrative that it does not seek to protect the environmental assets of the people. I rubbish that narrative.
And that's it for this edition of Jamaica Now, your weekly review of the big news stories. Send us your comments at onlinefeedback@gleanerjm.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Jamaica Gleaner and on Facebook at Gleaner Jamaica. Like this video on our YouTube page, turn on your notifications and subscribe today. I'm Damian Mitchell, and before we go, residents of Bull Bay St. Thomas take to the streets after their community was flooded.
Now 46-year-old. I'm from in Liverpool there. I never see this yet. Not even in a Gilbert this